Off-season episode number 12 of the Bears Talk Underground is brought to you by our good friends at MyBookie. It's the week, man. The Hall of Fame game is on Thursday, August the 1st, and before you know it, our beloved are going to kick off a week from then on August the 8th against the Panthers at home. We're going to get that ball rolling, and that means it's time to make an account at the best online sportsbook known to man. That's right, I'm talking about MyBookie. With an easy, no-hassle mobile site, 24/7 customer service, and bets on every sport and prop imaginable, MyBookie provides a fun, safe betting experience. And if you deposit today, MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus. That's right. You put in 100, they'll give you 50. You put in 1,000, they'll give you 500, and it's just that easy. So go to mybookie.ag today and sign up with promo code BEARS100. That's right, BEARS100. At MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid. Off-season episode number 12 is also brought to you by SeatGeek. Let SeatGeek take the confusion out of your ticket buying experience. Instead of shopping dozens of sites to find the best deal, let SeatGeek do all the heavy lifting for you. Their app scans the web for the best deals for your favorite game, concert, or show and rates them on a scale from 0 to 10 to let you know if you're getting the best bang for your buck. A green dot means great deals, a yellow dot good deals, red dot not so good deals. Use promo code ACAA at checkout to receive $20 off your first purchase. So what are you waiting for? That's promo code ACAA, $20 off your first purchase. That's SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets. My guest today, the lovely and talented Carolina Teague from Ticket 760 AM in San Antonio, among others. We'll list her credentials there at the beginning. And truth be told, I didn't know what to expect from this conversation. Like I said, she hit me up a few weeks ago, said she'd love to be on the show. She's a Bears fan. She wants to come on and talk Bears. So I'm like, why not? Let's do it. Absolutely. So we got her on the show. We had a great time talking. Hope to have her on again as many times as she'll tolerate me and my questions. So without further ado, off-season episode number 12, the second to last off-season episode of the 2019 campaign. We got one more with Brett Coleman next week, and then we get to the football games. We get to review preseason games. Then the real deal shows up. Oh, I can't wait. It's getting so close. Training camp is underway. Oh, all right. Well, let's talk about it. The Carolina Teague episode of the Bears Talk Underground is coming up right now, so let's get to it. It's the most wonderful time of the year. What's going on, everybody? Larry D back, off-season episode number 12. It's the first one since preseason got underway. When the Emory Moorhead episode came out, only rookies had reported. We were still waiting on the vets. We hadn't had our first official practice yet. Well, we're about 4 days into camp. Now the Bears got in on the first practice on Friday. A lot of activity on Twitter, guys making their entrances. Tariq Cohen coming in on a slingshot, which is basically a street legal go-kart is what those things are. Here he comes in. He's doing donuts in the turnaround at Bourbonnais, the Olivet Nazarene University and such. Steps out of the car on Walter Payton's birthday wearing a Walter Payton's jersey. You know, just go to my Twitter and see the video. I retweeted. It was awesome. Saturday they had their first practice. Sunday was the first one. I think Sunday was the first one open to the public. I think Saturday was open to the public. Sunday was the first one in pads. That's for sure. So they were able to get after it and start hitting. Today they had practice this morning on Monday. I'm recording this on Monday night. They had practice this morning and practice through the rain. Football is an all-weather sport. Unless you see lightning bolts, you're out there on the field getting it done. I think the defense had the advantage today in the rain, but for the most part, it's been promising from everything that I'm hearing from the various fans and writers and bloggers and things like that I follow on Twitter. The Bears are looking sharp out there. The defense is still a murderer's row of talent on that side of the football. Chase Daniel had a really great quote about Mitch Trubisky. He said last year he was learning the offense. This year he's running the offense, and I think a lot of people are seeing those differences. Some people are kind of harping on the mistakes, like Mitch has thrown some interceptions. guys, you got to remember, he's going against the best defense in the NFL right now. He's trying to throw deep with Eddie Jackson playing center field. It's not always going to work out. So regardless of how open the guy was, Eddie Jackson is Eddie Jackson for a reason. He's going to close in on those balls and make those picks. That's what he does to the best in the league. So he's going to do it to Mitch in practice. Mitch ain't there yet. He's getting there from everything that we're hearing, but he's not there yet. He's going up against the best. He's got Khalil Mack coming after him, Akeem Hicks coming after him, Eddie Goldman, Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith breathing down his neck, and he's getting it downfield. I mean, I've still been hearing great things. Riley Ridley, I think, has been hampered with a hamstring. I think Adam Shaheen is going to be this year's Aaron Lynch. I promise not to give him a bad nickname like the one that I gave Aaron Lynch last year. I shared that with Carolina in this episode, actually. I tell her what I thought about Aaron Lynch last year, but we'll see. I ended up eating those words, happily eating those words, and I think I tweeted earlier today that maybe Adam Shaheen will be this year's Aaron Lynch, where we're all pissed off that he's not in practice. He's not in the preseason. He's nursing a lower back injury right now. It's like, Jesus, dude, put some heat on it and get out there and practice. You know, this is a big year for Adam Shaheen. And then watch him show up week 1 and score 3 touchdowns against Green Bay or something like that. Wouldn't that be something? Because Aaron Lynch basically just showed up off the street week 1, had just about as much practice time as Khalil Mack had going into week 1 against the Packers, and he started in that game. And, you know, I really enjoyed Aaron Lynch being on the team last year. I thought he did a hell of a job, so I'm glad that he's back. And hopefully Adam Shaheen will be this year's Aaron Lynch, where he will kind of be a ghost during the preseason, then show up week 1 and play solid for us, because we could definitely use the alternative to Trey Burton and such. So, but otherwise, everything's been looking good in practice, or so that I hear so far. I'm anxious to see our beloved take the field next Thursday, although I doubt we'll see much of anything that we really want to see in the preseason. If last year's preseason was any indication as to how Nagy is going to handle it, I mean, hell, he might even be more cautious this year than he was last year. He knows. Guys know the offense now, so only guys like trying to make the team or learning the offense like David Montgomery and Riley Ridley, hopefully the hamstring's not a big deal and he can get back out there ASAP. I hear Javon Wims has been blowing it up in practice so far. Hearing a lot of great things about the team, and most importantly, the kickers are coming with it, fellas. The kickers are coming with it. Both of them have nailed 60-yarders in practice so far. I forget which. I think Elliott Fry. They're swapping days with the kickers, and Elliott Fry had day 1. He missed one kick. I forget what the distance was, but he nailed a 60-yarder to end practice. And then Eddie Pinheiro comes in on the next day, and he missed one. He hit the first 6, missed one from 53, and then went a few yards better than Fry and hit from 63 to close out practice the other day. And I think I don't know if it was Pinheiro again today or Fry, but the kickers have missed like one kick out of 7 or 8. That's the kind of stuff you want to hear. You know, that's what you want to hear. You got all the Bear fans out there watching. They had raining conditions, and I think they said he only missed, whoever the kicker was today, only missed one kick today. So, 7 out of 8, 6 out of 7, whatever it was, that's what you want to hear, as opposed to what we were hearing in like OTAs and minicamp, where we're hitting 3 out of 7 or 2 out of 6 or something like that. I don't know what it was, the peer pressure of their teammates staring them down, or if that super quiet thing that they were doing, the golf thing, I forget what they called it. But, the golf silence that they were doing for the kickers, I guess, is really messing with their brain. But they're back in kind of more of a game element with a crowd around them cheering and things like that. So maybe that's how they're stepping it up. Or it's real now. We're in training camp. Now's the time to do it. And it sounds like the guys are stepping it up so far. So fingers crossed that continues to be the case. One other thing I want to share with you guys before I let you go. The NFL is night by night releasing their top 100 players of 2019 going into the season, where all the players vote amongst their peers who they think the best player in the league is. Tonight was 30-21. So we have, what does that make? 70 players? Or is it 80? We got 20 left. 80 players so far. The Bears have 3. Eddie Jackson was tonight. He came in at number 30. Akeem Hicks was number 39. So he was on yesterday's episode. Kyle Fuller kind of kicked things off. I think I even mentioned that to Carolina when I was talking to her. Number 95 was Kyle Fuller. So he was on the 100 to 91 episode to kick it off. So still no Khalil Mack, still no Tariq Cohen, and I'm trying to think if we're missing anybody else that would be an obvious choice to be on the list. So Eddie Jackson, Akeem Hicks, 30 and 39, that's low. 95 for Kyle Fuller, I would say that's criminally low. He should be somewhere in the 60s or 70s, quite frankly. So if Fuller's not in there, Amukamura is not in there, that's for sure. No Roquan in there, not yet. Anyway, so we got a little work to do to get those boys in there where they deserve. I think Tariq Cohen should make it. I don't know if he's going to be you know what? It's ridiculous that he hasn't shown up yet because we're into the top 20 now. Do the rest of the players think that Tariq Cohen is a top 20 player? I guess we're going to find out because the only, I think, quote-unquote, obvious choice that's left right now is Khalil Mack. And I would wager at worst top 10, he should be in the top 5, maybe even the top 3 with the way that he played last year. Switching teams, basically coming off the street cold and being a monster that helped propel a good defense into greatness and being the best in the league last year. So I expect to see at least 2 more, all of our all-pros and Kyle Fuller, essentially. Akeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson, Tariq Cohen, and Khalil Mack. So that'll give us 5 in the top 100, which is not enough. Definitely not enough. So we'll see. Maybe the peers have some surprises for us, but it's like just because they've been rating the players so low, I'm afraid Khalil, or excuse me, I keep saying Khalil. Tariq Cohen isn't going to make the list. I have this weird feeling he isn't going to make the list somehow. Because I thought, if he's rated ahead of Eddie Jackson, he would be rated almost 20 spots ahead of Akeem Hicks. I love Tariq Cohen, but everybody with the Bears always gets lowballed. The Bears always get lowballed on these things, and Tariq Cohen hasn't popped up yet, and we've only got 20 players left. So maybe they have mad love for Tariq Cohen amongst the league, and he's going to be somewhere in that 20 to teens area. I fully anticipate seeing Khalil Mack in the top 5 or so in the 10-1 episode. So we'll see how that all unfolds. So anyway, before we get to our new friend Carolina Teague, one more thing. We got Brett Coleman next Tuesday on August the 6th. Had Brett on this week to talk about the YouTube videos that he's been putting on. Search Brett Coleman. Search the Film Room on YouTube. Those things will come up. He did the Mitch Trubisky episode that Adam Rank and I talked about on the episode. I've mentioned it a few times. You guys also heard me mention the video where he was basically campaigning for Eddie Jackson to be the defensive player of the year last year. He did an awesome video breaking down how the Bears defense dismantled Jared Goff and the I wanted to say St. Louis. I'm just off. It's been a long day. The LA Rams, week 14 on Sunday Night Football, that huge game that the Bears dominated. And last spring, he did before he was a Bear, before the draft, he did a video on Roquan Smith, profiling him and why he should be a top talent in the draft. So 4 Bear-related videos. Go ahead and check them out. Remember, that was your homework assignment before listening to that episode. So you have until next Tuesday on the 6th to get ready with that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to the interview with our friend Carolina Teague from the Ticket, 760 AM in San Antonio, to talk Bears and whatever else pops into our head. Part number 3 of our interview. Actually, this is part number 4. What am I doing? Part number 4 of our little interview series between our opponent previews and the start of the preseason. Brings a brand new guest to us, a new friend. It's Carolina Teague from, here I wrote this down, an on-air personality from the Ticket 760 AM in San Antonio, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And formerly of ESPN San Antonio, current writer for Sports Told by a Girl. Carolina, welcome to the Bears Talk Underground.
Thank you for having me.
So how does a Bear fan find themselves in San Antonio, Texas?
So, Larry, let me tell you all about how I became a Bears fan in San Antonio, Texas. So I was born in Chicago. I lived there for several years during the 90s. I was a huge Bulls fan.
Of course.
Loved sports, was obsessed with watching sports all the time. And then we moved to San Antonio, Texas. And my love for the Bears actually started during when the Bears went to the Super Bowl and they lost. And so when Devin Hester did his return that made the touchdown, that's when I fell in love with Devin Hester.
Right.
And fell in love with the Chicago Bears team. I was really upset that they lost.
Yeah.
But that's where the ball started to roll. So I kind of came in as a Bears fan when everything was kind of inclining, but then it went down the tank for a while.
Sure.
And so now it's really exciting to see what's happening right now. So I've been through the tough years with the Bears.
Well, you hung in there, and that's admirable. And what's funny is that I've been a fan my whole life. I can't remember a day in my life that I wasn't. What's funny for me is that I started the podcast in 2007, the year after they went to the Super Bowl. So I started the show in 2007 thinking, well, obviously they're going back because they have the whole team. They're still awesome and blah, blah, blah. It was 4 seasons before we made it to the playoffs again in 2010, and then another 8 before we finally made it back last year. So I have been through the lean years as well, trying to get people to listen to this show when we were 3-13 in 2016, when we were 5-11 under John Fox, and I wanted to shoot myself watching us try to play offense each and every week. So I'm definitely on board with you, sticking with the Bears through the leanest of years that we've been through, and happy that it's all come back around and we look like contenders again.
Exactly. And you know what really bothers me about the fact that I am a Bears fan? That now that we are doing good, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of people in the NFC North, like Packers fans, Lions fans, and Vikings fans, they tend to call us bandwagoners.
Oh, please.
And to me, we are the furthest thing from bandwagoners.
Yeah.
If anything, Chicago Bears fans are the most loyal fan base. We have been through so much, and the only difference between then and now is that they finally notice us.
Right.
Because we have something to say now. So that's the difference between then and now. So people are starting to notice what we bring to the table and everything that we've been through. And I think to call us bandwagoners, to me, is just insane. So I think anybody who's a Chicago Bears fan is loyal. And I think if you want a good woman in life and you want a loyal woman, what better way than to look for a Chicago Bears fan, because we're the definition of showing loyalty.
Amen. Amen to that. And you know what? You're exactly right about that. And it's something that's been kind of crazy to bear witness to, no pun intended, but it just, thinking that well, basically we've been irrelevant in our own division. Before we won the division last year, we were in last place every year for 4 years. So, I mean, we haven't been a factor even in our own division in such a long time. It's crazy that they feel that way, because we've been here the whole time. Go to any road game that the Bears are, there's a pretty good chance that every now and then we might outnumber the home crowd in the teams that we play. Bear fans travel like crazy, and the fact that they say that most of us are bandwagoners, I don't get it. We're definitely more vocal now than we probably have been in the past, but there's still as many of us as there were before this whole thing started.
I also find find it ridiculous because we have been, like you said, anytime you go on a road game and you see, like I've gone to Bears versus Cowboys games, anytime you go to see a Bears fan on the road, or even looking at studies, they've shown time and time again that the Chicago Bears have the sixth ranking, sixth best ticket sales, sixth best in sales of merch.
Road attendance.
They're one of the
and things
highest
like that.
ranking fan bases in attendance every single year. So, I mean, the numbers just keep getting better. They were recently ranked as 8th, but out of 32 teams, that's still really, really good. So I think to call us bandwagoners is pretty ridiculous. They need to do their homework.
Yeah, absolutely. So you came along with the team in 06. You were a fan before then, you said?
I was a fan so I became a true fan, I would say, when Devin Hester did his return during the Super Bowl against the Colts, and then we lost against Rex Grossman. Ugh. Or not lost against Rex Grossman.
No, that's not too inaccurate. That's what happened. We lost to him. It was his fault we lost that game, so that's not completely incorrect.
Yeah. So, I mean, it started to roll from there, and then I think when I started becoming extremely involved with the team was right before the Mark Trestman years, when they were doing the rebuild and things like that. So I have been through the ringer. I've cried during games. The saddest moment for me personally was when we lost to the Green Bay Packers to make it into the playoffs, when Chris Conte blew the coverage on 4th and 8 against Randall. Yeah, and Randall Cobb scored the touchdown. I think that is what really hurt my soul, and that's when I became extremely emotionally invested, I would say, because that was really hard for me to go through that. Yeah,
several times on this show I have prayed for Chris Conte's death, even after he left the Bears. I had a couple of times we played the Buccaneers, so I had a couple of guys from a Buccaneers podcast on the show, and they're feeling our pain because Chris Conte has been with the Buccaneers since he left Chicago. He followed Lovey down there when he was the coach for a couple years, but so they are feeling our pain. I don't think he's on the team anymore, so that might be over with, but they were feeling our pain. Like, yeah, we get it. Chris Conte is terrible.
Yeah.
Don't know how he keeps floating around in the league, but there he is.
Yeah, they have clips of him getting slapped around all over YouTube, but my thing is what that taught me, having somebody like Chris Conte on the team, what that taught me was the importance of a safety. That is what the lesson was. So the fact that we have Eddie Jackson right now, I love Eddie Jackson, and I don't take Eddie Jackson for granted because I know what it's like for everybody to be lined up and ready to go, and then you have a safety like Chris Conte blowing coverage and then ruining your entire season. So for me, that just showed me the importance of a safety. I might still be. I mean, every person on the team is vital per se, but I'm a little bit jaded by that incident, and that's why I can appreciate somebody on the team now like Eddie Jackson. Yeah,
and you're not alone on that one. I was actually watching a YouTube video the other day, just a random video I stumbled upon of like fantastic finishes or miracle comebacks or whatever, and it was like a 10-minute video of all these really great finishes in the NFL. That one where the Ravens came from behind at the last second in the playoffs to beat the Broncos in 2012, and a handful of other incidents, and the very last one was Rodgers heaving it down the field because he had Julius Peppers on his back to a wide open Randall Cobb because Chris Conte was covering no one. He was covering no one. Just let him blow right past him because he was the one person on the field who didn't get Lance Briggs' audible to a different play. And there he goes, and it just makes me sick to my stomach. Oh, damn you, Chris Conte!
Too, because I watched plays I watched that play over and over again. Like, I obsessed over that, and I remember like all the analysts are like, everybody's where they're supposed to be except for Chris Conte, and look what happens. And I'm like, oh my god, that was just the worst time ever. But yeah, that's when I became. Yeah. That's the first time I cried during. That's the first time I actually cried. So
yeah, it was like fourth and 100 on that play Rodgers is getting, and like he's wearing Julius Peppers on the back of his jersey, and he just heaves it up there, and Randall Cobb's wide open, just running down the field untouched. And like, good. Couldn't have made that look any easier, and unbelievable. So
we've been through some things.
We have
been through some things.
We absolutely have. But how did you get into the industry? I mean, you said you were sports obsessed. Were you an only child?
No,
You're not. Okay.
A little sister. No, I have a little sister and a little brother, but I think what made me sports obsessed was the fact that I lived in Chicago during the 90s era for the Chicago Bulls. And Michael Jordan was the god of, he was the basketball god, and every child looked up to him, and then Space Jam came out. So I was really obsessed at that point. And what had actually got me into the industry is life kind of happened for me, and I kind of got sidetracked with life, but I always watched sports, and I always looked out for my team. I always, kept up with them every now and then, but I noticed that when I was on, I would be on Facebook, I'd always post about the Bears, and every guy would try to argue with me, and I noticed that they didn't know what they were talking about. Yeah. I did. So I know it sounds bad, but I just remember being, some men obviously did have great insight, but I did notice that just because you were a man, that doesn't mean that you were football intellect. So There was a competition in San Antonio for ESPN, and the winner of the competition got a spot to be a radio personality. So it was like a huge, prize. You get to be on air and build your brand, and it was just like an exciting competition. So I was really nervous. I didn't want to try out. I finally tried out. I beat over 150 men. So I was surprised. I did not think I was going to win, but I noticed, during the competition, that it really boils down to your personality. I mean, there's so many things that go into it, but once I won the competition, I was on the air, and I kind of got my reps in, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. I still am in love with it. I'm more obsessed now than ever with keeping up with the current trends, everything sports related. But San Antonio is really Cowboys country, and San Antonio Spurs country. But one thing that I am relentless with is letting the whole entire world know that I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan. Yeah. And I get dragged through the mud every single year, but there's actually a lot of Bears fans in Texas. I can tell you that much. Yeah. A ton of Bears fans. A ton.
Well, yeah, I know I got a few buddies in the Houston area. I think I got a few in Dallas as well. So it's definitely spread out. The fan base is everywhere. They are absolutely everywhere, and it's kind of like you can find Cubs fans anywhere. You can go to Florida, Texas, out west, and all that kind of stuff. They're not just traveling to these games. The Cubs are coming to them because they live in Los Angeles and things like that. The Chicago has a handprint that's all over the country.
Yeah, and we actually roll really deep. When we go to Cowboys games, we're like a family. When we go to Cowboys games, there's way, like, the Bears fan ratio to the Cowboys fan ratio is pretty even, which is saying a lot because Cowboys are, quote unquote, America's favorite team. Right. So the fact that we can kind of even out that field of fandom, to me, just shows that we are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to our fan base. And then also, last year when we went to the playoffs, everybody traveled to a place called Buford's in Austin. There had to have been at least 500, I would say maybe even more, Bears fans in that sports bar cheering for our favorite team. It looked just like Bears country. I have to send you a video, but it looked like you were in Chicago. There was there was nothing that would indicate that you were in Texas. And then we're also trying to bring that watch party down to San Antonio as well. There's a couple of Bears fans here. We're trying to keep that same large fan base in the San Antonio area. So we are really repping our team really well down here. And one of the things that makes me proud is that I am an on-air personality. I am a sports writer, and I am based in Texas, but I rep really hard for my favorite team. So I always let everybody know what time it is when it comes to my team.
Nice. So what is a typical day like for you at AM 760?
Okay, so a typical day for me, well, I do on-air fill-in. So what they do is they call me in whenever they need me. But a typical day for me is writing articles. I am always doing podcasts. I call myself the podcast prostitute, not because I sleep with everybody I do podcasts with, but because I am always anxious to be on another podcast. I love talking about sports. And I'm also the only female in San Antonio that does sports radio. Okay. So one of my goals this year is to have my own show, and we're working on that right now. I'm hoping to have my own show within the next few months, and I'm really excited. I think it would be great for me to have a show, and so that's something that I'm really working on, and I hope that dream comes into fruition really soon. So I have a lot of people who are rooting for me in that at the radio station, and you have to basically pay your dues there, and then once you do that, then you get obviously your own show. Yeah,
of course. Would it be like started as a weekly thing, or would you want to go 5 days a week right off the bat?
I would want to go weekly, just to see how. Actually, I could do 5 days. I mean, I love doing this stuff, right. But I honestly think that weekly would be a good start for me, and then go from there. So that's kind of the direction I want to go. I do want to be. I think my ultimate goal would be to be on the NFL Network or something of that nature, where you give your opinion and people respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. I have some friends at the NFL Network, so let me know, and I'll get them in touch with you, see what we can do for you.
Tell them to get in touch with me. Send them my reel. No, I'm just kidding. I'm always here for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think of this team that we have on our hands this year? I mean, I started saying last year, before the 2018 season even started, even after the Khalil Mack trade and everything, I thought that we would be good. I didn't know that we would be special the way that we were last year, but this was the team. 2019 was the one that I wanted to see, because it was year 2 in Nagy's system, year 2 with Mitch and all of those guys that we signed prior to 2018, all that kind of stuff. For it all to come together, I thought 2019 was the year, and it really is shaping up to be that way.
Mm-hmm. So what I think about this year is I kind of have to backtrack to last year, if you don't mind. So what I think, last year, before the first game of the season, I had bet on our team to be first in the division. I gambled, and I won my money 8 times over, because I believed in my team before anybody else believed in them. Well, not anybody else, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
Before Vegas did, I believed in my team. I had a feeling that we were going to be great. What surprised me the most about last year was that we weren't even projected to be the winner of the division. We were projected to be last. So to see the Khalil Mack trade and for everything to come, for them to go 12-4 was outstanding.
Yeah.
And now I feel like the narrative last year was the Bears are going to be in the basement, organization is garbage, and all these things. Now the narrative has now shifted, now that we've proved all the naysayers wrong and we went 12-4. Now the narrative is, we double doinked, and then we traded for Vic Fangio for Chuck Pagano, and now we're going to regress as a team,
right?
Just the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars did. They always reference the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they had their outstanding season and how they're going to regress. Me personally, I do not think that the Bears will regress. I feel like, if anything, I agree with you. This is the year that the Chicago Bears are going to do phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I think that we have outstanding players on our team. We have Akeem Hicks. We have Eddie Jackson. I think Mitch Trubisky is going to do great. A lot of people doubt him. I personally don't. He was a second-year quarterback, or he was 2-year quarterback at North Carolina, and then he came on to the Chicago Bears with Nagy as a first-year coach. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he's doing is he's learning Nagy's system now. I think he's going to adjust to it, and he's going to be doing a lot better. It looks like he's getting more comfortable with the team, and the team respects him as their leader. Right. I also think one of the things that the offense is going to improve on this year is I feel like Tariq Cohen is going to be big this year, and I also think that David Montgomery is going to help out as well. I think one of the things with the offense is I think the offense is not going to see a decline. I think it's going to see an incline. So any type of defensive regress that people are predicting might happen, I think is going to be made up with their offense. I don't think our offense is going to be bad this year. I think it's actually going to be much better. I think that the defense as well is going to be spectacular still. With Pagano's system, they're going to be running more blitz packages, and I think that he's going to be a lot more riskier than Vic Fangio was. And one of the things that impresses me, and like I've said before, with the Chicago Bears, I feel like if you're going to take risk as a coach and you have an untalented team, then yes, that may be a problem. But if you're taking risk with all the talent that you have on your defense, like the Chicago Bears do, I think they're going to do just fine. So I think our defense is actually going to be, I don't think it's going to regress. I think it's going to be better. I think a lot of people are, again, doubting us as a team, and we're still going to do great. And if all else fails, I think we're still going to win the division, and we're not going to be out in the first round like we were last year. So even if we don't have a spectacular record like 12-4, and let's say we go 11-5 or maybe even 10-6, I feel like we'll still win the division, and we still already have the experience, the playoff experience that we didn't have last year. And we're going to utilize that playoff experience to our advantage this year, and we are going to actually go further in the playoffs. That's just my opinion.
Well, I'm on board with all of that. I believe you're absolutely right. I mean, and the funny thing when people talk about regression on defense because we lost Vic Fangio, number one, I think they're not giving Pagano enough credit for what he did when he was a defensive coordinator in Baltimore, and also just the fact I think they're also kind of taking something away from the talent we do have on defense. Like I don't think it matters honestly who the defensive coordinator is, whether it was Chuck Pagano or Todd Bowles, who took the job with Tampa Bay under Bruce Arians and things like that. With the horses that we have on defense, all you need to do is turn them loose, and they'll make plays, just like they did last year. I mean, I love Vic Fangio and everything that he did. I wish he was still here, but Ryan Pace did an amazing job putting this team together, and those guys are ready to roll. The only thing that I think can hurt the defense is injuries. That was the one thing we were really able to avoid last year was injuries. Hopefully we can do that again. If we do, the Bears are going to be fine on defense. Are we going to be number one again? Who knows? Probably not, but we'll still be one of the best defenses in the league. And then on offense, I think David Montgomery is going to be huge for us as well. I think having that running game is going to open things up in the passing game, and Mitch is going to be a beast this year. So, I mean, the criticism on Mitch is fair because he was inconsistent last year, but when he needed to step up, he stepped up every single time. So I have faith in Mitch and what he can do this year, and everything that everybody's saying about him and OTAs and all that kind of stuff is all the stuff that you want to hear. Like, he is not making the same mistakes. He is 10 times better than he was last year as far as his command of the offense and all that kind of stuff. That's why I was looking forward to this year, because I knew that would probably be the case.
Yes, and I agree with you when it comes to that. I think that the only thing that would stop the Chicago Bears this year is injuries, because we have a ton of talent on the defense. And I want to point something out with the offense as well that I think is really important. I think Tariq Cohen is going to be double teamed a lot, and with that I don't think we'll have an issue with that like we did last year, because David Montgomery averaged 1,000 yards for each year in Iowa when he was playing for them. I think when Tariq Cohen is going to be double teamed, David Montgomery will come in and he will pick up where the slack is left off on that perspective. And I think Mitch Trubisky was inconsistent last year, and you're right, it was fair, it was fair to say that. But like I have said before, the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when he threw 6 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers, to me, that showed me, because I too had my concerns with him as a quarterback. And when I saw that game, to me, it just let me know this guy does have what it takes to perform when he needs to. Even though it was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it still showed me he wasn't a crappy quarterback. He still has a lot of talent, and I think that he will do a phenomenal job. And of course, like I've said before, he is trying to get used to Coach Nagy's system, and I think he's going to do just fine. They're getting used to each other. And the thing that is the most important is that Coach Nagy believes in him.
Yeah.
And Mitch Trubisky shows a lot of leadership. Everyone respects him, and everyone respects each other in the team as a whole. They have a really good morale and clubbed up, and that's not something that I have been used to seeing. I haven't been used to seeing a great morale since I've become emotionally obsessed with the Chicago Bears. To me, that's something that I see now, and that's really important. So that's why I think this year is going to be a really great year. The only thing that's stopping the Chicago Bears from winning the NFC North is going to be injuries. And even if we do regress, like everyone is saying, we're still not going to be as bad as the other teams in the division are, and I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And the thing about Nagy and the culture that he brought to the Bears, I think that was the X factor that no one was really counting on last year. I don't think anyone was counting on the team responding to him the way that they did last year. Because even after we made the Khalil Mack trade, because of what we didn't know about the offense, it's like we added Khalil Mack to that defense that was top 10 in 2017 without him. And I was like, okay, so I think we're looking at maybe, 8-8, 9-7, even after the Khalil Mack trade. And then it was, oh yeah, Matt Nagy is a mastermind as far as getting his players to bond and to buy into the system. And these guys would run through a brick wall for him. And that's where those extra 3 wins came from. That's where, the thing about last season that made it so amazing, and that also made the loss to Philly so heartbreaking, was that it wasn't even so much that we lost the game that sucked. It was that I was not done watching that team play yet. I wasn't finished with them yet. I wanted to watch them keep playing, wanted to watch them keep fighting the way that they did. And every single game that we lost last year, we went down to the wire fighting to the death to try to win it. And it wasn't like that under Fox or Trestman, and sometimes even with under Lovey. We would die a slow, painful death in those games, especially under Trestman. Back-to-back losses to the Patriots and the Packers, and they put 50 on us in each of those games. And the thing about all the losses that we had last season was that what made them sting was that if the Bears played that team again, they wouldn't lose. They would win. They would make the adjustments to win the game if we got to play them again. That game against the Patriots, the game against the Giants that we lost. God help me with the Giants game. And, obviously the Philly game, if we get a second bite at the apple with Philly a week after that, we don't lose to Philly the second time. So, I mean, it's just the team was entertaining to watch. They were always in every game, win, lose, or draw, and that's what made them so fun to watch, and that's why I can't wait to see what they're going to do this year. I just feel like they're ready to go. They're ready to go. They're talking like they're ready to go. The expectation is amongst the players that's where they expect to go. Not like last year when they were just happy to be there, happy to win 12 games, happy to be in the playoffs. Isn't this great? Nobody thought we were going to be here, and here we are. Now everyone expects you to be there, no matter what the naysayers say. Everyone expects the Bears to be good. Everyone, even those who say they're not going to be good, still thinks the Bears should make the playoffs this year, or that they have the talent to do it, and will be surprised if they don't. So I think that that the Bears are ready to roll, and I can't wait to get started. We got training camp starting this week, and it's the beginning of it all, and I am jacked.
Yeah, me too. And what makes like at the end of the day, like I've said before, what makes me upset is that everybody has something to say about our team, but we weren't even predicted to make it to the playoffs last year, so
Right.
I don't even care. Like, I'm happy because they didn't expect us to be in the playoffs for 3 to 4 years, and we're already doing great. And one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is experience matters. There's a lot more cohesiveness on this team this year than there was last year, and that is extremely important. I think we're going to be fine, and our biggest challenge, the Chicago Bears, or Eddie Jackson in particular, said, our biggest challenge is we want to be better than the 85 Bears. They're not competing against everybody else. They're competing against the top caliber Bears team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a really good goal to have. I'm excited for this year. 100%.
I mean, and these guys are all in. I mean, you look back at what Ryan Pace, what Matt Nagy have been saying throughout the offseason is that throughout voluntary workouts, when these guys don't have to show up, you got 100% attendance. Everybody is showing up. Everybody is participating. Even in the workouts, they don't have to be there. They are there anyway. They're putting in the work. They're waiting for September 5th. They're counting the seconds, the nanoseconds until kickoff against Green Bay on September the 5th. This team is ready to get at it. So I don't see how they fail this year. I don't see how they don't succeed. It's going to be a historic year. Never mind the fact that it's the 100th season and everything. That's coincidence. This team is ready to roll regardless. So it's have you heard about the numerology that's surrounding 2019 and how it seems to be destined in the stars that we're supposed to win it this year?
I heard this for every single team, but I have not heard the Bears one yet. Which one is it?
Well, number one, like I just mentioned, it's the 100th season of Bears football, so there's that. Number two, it's been 34 years since we won a Super Bowl, 34, Walter Payton, so there's that. The number three, the game Super Bowl is being played on George Papa Bear Hallis's birthday.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, and the game is also being played in Miami, where we last played in the Super Bowl. So we're going to go back there and right the wrong and win the Super Bowl on the 100th season on Papa Bear's birthday, 34 years from the last time we did it.
We have no choice but to win. Like, we have no choice. Like, this has to happen.
So
like, we have to. Like, I will cry again.
Yeah. Oh, I'll bawl my eyes out. See, the thing that I do on the show is during the season, when I do my review episodes, when I'm watching the game, I have a little mini recorder and a microphone. I do these little segments called knee-jerk reaction. So I take about a 2-minute recap of what happened. First quarter knee-jerk reaction, Bears, Packers, blah, 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 blah. Talk about what happened, what I hope happens, blah, blah, blah. If we win the Super Bowl, the knee-jerk reaction to the fourth quarter of our Super Bowl victory will be, that will be me for 3 minutes solid, just blubbering into the microphone because I just watched the Bears win a Super Bowl for the first time in 34 years. So, yeah, that's what that will sound like, God forbid, when we pull it off and against whoever in the Super Bowl this year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I'm really, really excited, and I hope once again we prove everybody wrong. I mean, we're the talk of the town, and that's not our fault. We worked really hard to get there. So,
right. Speaking of which, I was, when obviously we follow each other on Twitter and everything. I noticed you hashtag Honey Bear a lot with your tweets. What's with the Honey Bear thing?
Yes, I'm a Honey Bear. So, they call me Honey Bear. I am in a group called the NFC North Trash Talk Division, and there's about 35,000 people in there, and I'm known as Honey Bear. But the Honey Bear movement is actually something that if any girls are listening right now, the Honey Bear movement is for any girl Bears fan. You have to be a boss chick. You have to be smart when it comes to the Chicago Bears. You have to love your team, and you have to embody the Honey Bear culture, which is positive, intelligent, beautiful, driven. That's the Honey Bear culture, and the reason why we call it the Honey Bears is, of course, because of the 1985 Chicago Honey Bears cheerleaders.
Right. And
we call ourselves the Honey Bears. And I was convinced back in the day that there's the curse of the Honey Bears.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I had started a petition on change.org to bring back the honey bears. There was only 19 signatures, but I was a small fry back in the day. I only had 19 signatures to bring back the honey bears. But I feel like there was a curse because Virginia McCaskey had gotten rid of the honey bears after that season. So I felt like there was a definite curse because of that. But there's not a curse anymore because we actually brought it back in a different way. We're bringing back the honey bear movement. We want all the women Bears fans to solidify and come together and work together just to show our support for the team. Nice.
Very nice. And you're right. There is a kind of like the curse of the billy goat for the Cubs. There has been kind of that legend of the curse of the honey bears because 85 was the last season that the honey bears were in existence, and that's, of course, the last time the Bears won a Super Bowl. So, yeah, that was legit for a while. I mean, we still haven't won a Super Bowl, but we've been back since then. So maybe that's kind of when that one died out a little bit. But that curse of the honey bear thing was for real.
That was for real, but the thing is, we feel like we can reverse it if we reincarnate it in a different way. So we bringing it back with the hashtags on the internet. Any woman that is driven, beautiful, confident, and is a Bears fan can be a honey bear. So it's not just me; it's any woman that's listening right now. So to me, that's a huge thing. Nice. Women coming together to show love for their team.
So when I was surfing your Twitter, or actually it was Instagram. Actually, I'm not a big Instagram guy. I barely go on there. But I was looking at your Instagram today, and I saw you in a wrestling ring. What the hell was going on there?
I got to interview Hall of Fame wrestlers, top promoters like Floyd Mayweather's promoters. So I'm pretty well known in the local wrestling and boxing community here in town.
Okay.
San Antonio has world talented boxers and world talented wrestlers. You've seen them on Showtime, you've seen them on pay-per-view, you've seen them on your screen, and a lot of them are from San Antonio, and that's a little known fact. So one of the owners of the local wrestling matches had asked me to come in the ring to be their guest general manager. So I was in the ring, and I hosted the show. It was like the best time ever, and I was able to get in the ring with one of the wrestlers, and I actually did my first wrestling move. So that was pretty interesting, and I had a really good time.
What did you do?
So I kicked him with my heel.
Oh, boy.
I kicked him with my heel because he kept flirting with me. He kept trying to tell me that he was going to take me out on a date. I kept rejecting his advances. He got on the mic, and he was being really disrespectful. So the owner gave me permission to kick him in the ring in front of everyone with my heel, and backflipped, and he ended up losing the match to his opponent because of my kick. So I was really excited that I got to help him lose that day.
Well, that'll show him.
Yeah, that'll show him. But we had a good time. I love wrestling. I love boxing. I just like anything as sports in general. But I really have a special place in my heart for the local talent because I feel like anybody, that's local can be the next huge thing. So that's really cool.
Yeah, a friend of mine works at the Performance Center in Orlando for WWE. He's been out there for several years now, at least 5 or 6. But he's the one that works closely with NXT and those guys that are trying to make it to the main roster on Raw and SmackDown and things like that. He's the one helping them put their personas together so they can get to the big show.
Let me tell you, from what all the interviews I've done, all of the behind-the-scenes things that I've done in regards to wrestling and boxing, one thing that I've noticed is that they put their whole entire lives into it.
Yeah.
So it's really, these people, they've told me time and time again, they come from nothing, they come from humble beginnings, and this is their dream. And to see them work hard behind the scenes constantly training, constantly trying to build their image. To me, it's just beautiful when you get to see them show what they're really made of inside the ring. And just to put on a show for the fans for an hour, they put their heart and soul and they dedicate themselves, kind of like football.
Yeah.
It is like football. It's a sport. You got to put your whole life into it if you really love it. So I really like stuff like that. Makes me happy on the inside.
With those guys, it's almost like a disease with them that they can't shake. You know, like they're in it no matter what. This is their life and what they want to do, and they can't see themselves doing anything else, for better or for worse. That's what they do. I mean, that's what ended up happening with my buddy. He's the biggest wrestling fan that I've ever known, and I used to be a huge fan, especially during the Attitude Era in the late 90s and early 2000s and stuff. And he was a fan before then. He was wrestling out, and when he was in school in Colorado, he went out to Los Angeles. He was working on, wrestling organizations out there, and then he finally got a shot with WWE, and that's where he ended up in Orlando at the Performance Center and stuff. This has been his life's work, and he made it to the biggest platform that the industry has. So that all those guys are like that. Not everyone can make it to the WWE, but those guys still put the work in regardless. And every show for them is Madison Square Garden or WrestleMania or whatever, and they go out and they perform that way every time.
Oh yeah, I that's how I feel about it too. I'm so amazed every time they make it. I'm like, you deserve it. The hard work that they put into it just makes me so happy on the inside.
Right. So what else are you getting yourself into out there in San Antonio?
Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a Bears movie down here that's huge. So
right.
I know it sounds impossible, but it isn't, okay? Because like I said, in Austin, they had about 500 to 1,000 people out there, and we want to bring it to San Antonio. We want to do huge watch parties. We're going to go on the air and promote the event because we want all the Bears fans to come in San Antonio. And there are people in Texas that might listen to you, and they see this and they want to get involved. So that's my personal next move. After that, it's of course getting my own show. I'm still doing my writing. My writing pieces are pretty in depth. I want to get into huge in depth writing pieces when it comes to the Chicago Bears. That's another thing that I want to focus on. I really want to expand, what I really love, because I notice, like, when you invite me on, I get extremely happy. Like, this is, like, it melts my heart. It's different than doing a normal podcast or going on air and talking about the Bears. I mean, talking about the Cowboys is fun, but it doesn't light my fire.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get it.
So like, I like talking about the Cowboys. Don't get me wrong. I think they're great right now. Well, I mean, not as great as us, but I think they're great. but what lights my fire is talking about my team. So that's why I want to get more in depth when it comes to the Chicago Bears. I want to build my name and put myself out there so people know that when it comes to talking about the Chicago Bears, there's a girl out there in Texas who really knows what she's talking about, and she's ready to go, and she knows how to hold her own down here in Texas.
Amen. That's awesome. Well, you know what? It's amazing what you're doing down there, and it's been fun having you on there. Just a couple more things before I let you go. The NFL.
You can go all day, honey.
Okay, let's do that then.
Whatever you want to do.
The NFL Network started their annual top 100 players in the NFL thing, and I've never really been a fan of the show because for many years no Bears really ever made the list. So, but their debut episode was last night, and we only had one guy in the top. From 100 to 90, we had Kyle Fuller came in at number 95, I was just wondering who you think. I mean, aside from the obvious, Khalil Mack, he'll probably be somewhere in the top 10, or at least he better be anyway. But who else do you see making that list?
Okay, well, I think they would be doing a disservice if they did not put Prince Amukamara in the top 100. I think he deserves to be there. He got a pick 6 last year, and he actually did a really good job with coverage last year, so I think he deserves a spot as well. I also think Akeem. Did they say they didn't do Akeem Hicks? Did they?
Not yet. They only did the first. They only did the first 10. So they did
the first 10.
100 to 91.
they said they were going to go to commercial, and they were like, when we come back, we're going to announce number 95, and I thought they were going to announce Akeem Hicks, but they announced Kyle Fuller.
Right.
I think Akeem Hicks should make the list.
Yep.
I think, obviously, Khalil Mack, we already said that. I think that Tyreek Cohen should make the list as well. All the Pro Bowlers who made it should make the list, hands down.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't put the Pro Bowlers on the list, then they're tripping. And I think, they're tripping if they don't put all the Pro Bowlers on the list. And I also think it would be nice for them to put Roquan Smith on the list. I think he's extremely slept on. So I would like to see him on the list as well. So I think all the Pro Bowlers for sure. And I would like to see Prince Amukamara in there and Roquan Smith. So, I mean, I would love for them to put the whole team on the list, but I mean, they can't.
Let's put all 53 of them in there. The hell with it. Put all 53.
Yeah, except for Parkey.
Right.
For Parkey.
Oh, dear God.
So, yeah.
Well, except for Parkey and Adrian Amos because he traded and went to the Green Bay Packers, and that's not good. So.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't even get me started on that because I can go into that if you want to. What bothers me about that, or can I go into it?
Go ahead, girl.
Okay, so this whole Adrian Amos thing, I mean, everybody's like giving us flack about how we lost somebody really good, XYZ, or whatever, but he really didn't fit our system, and I think Clinton-Dix could fits our system a little bit better when it comes to that position. So I think that we did a pretty even trade. I don't think we downgraded. And I also find it really funny how Packers fans were trying to tell us that Adrian Amos was trash, even though we picked him up in a late round draft pick. And I'm going to give Ryan Pace phenomenal credit for being able to pick talented players in late round draft picks. That's another story for another day. Yeah. I think that that just because we lost him doesn't mean that we are doing ourselves a disservice. Even though he's on the PUP list right now, I still think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's anything to panic about. The PUP list is, he suffered a knee injury at the end of the offseason program, but he didn't tear an ACL or anything like that. And if we learned anything from Nagy and the way he handles the team in the preseason, he's going to baby them before we get to the regular season. I mean, I'm going to make a confession. I thought Aaron Lynch was the biggest mistake we ever made during the preseason last year. Okay, I didn't even call him by I called him out of his name for the entire preseason last year because he had I think it was a hamstring or something at the end of OTA or in OTAs, didn't participate in the OTAs to nurse that injury. Barely, I don't think he played at all in the preseason or anything like that because of some kind of, I think it was a shoulder, whatever it was. I called him Sandy Vagina is what I called him. He got sand in his vagina, so he's not playing in the preseason. I was really irritated with Aaron Lynch. And now, hindsight being 2020 and going back, I regret it all because Nagy was just saving him for the regular season and keeping him healthy. We don't want to put you out there and re-aggravate it and everything. And that's what he's doing with Clinton-Dix. He's, he tweaked his knee or did whatever he did. It's not a serious injury, but we're going to baby him on his way so he's ready week 1 against Green Bay because that's the priority, not week 3 against the Colts in the dress rehearsal game. No one cares about that game, especially Matt Nagy. So he wants the guys ready to go week 1, Thursday Night Football against the Packers. And starting on the PUP list, it gets people nervous because if you're on the PUP list when the season starts, you miss the first 6 games. But what a lot of people don't know is that when you're on the PUP list in the preseason or in training camp, you can come off the list at any time. Literally at any moment, Ryan Pace can activate him, and he'll be active on the roster and anything. So it's not anything that we need to be panicking about or anything like that.
And I was thinking that's the card he's going to pull. He's going to make him active again before the season starts. So I don't think he's going to be missing out on those 6 games. That would be terrible if he did that. Then that would just prove that the trade wasn't a win-win like they had said it was.
Yeah,
so I think he's definitely going to be ready for the season opener. I think he's going to I'm excited to actually see how they both perform that day. That's something I'm actually looking really forward to.
Well, that's definitely going to be one of the storylines going into that game. And, the other thing is the Packers made a huge investment to get Adrian Amos. 4 years, $36 million, so much guaranteed money. The Bears signed Clinton-Dix to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. So if it doesn't work out, we're only stuck with him for 1 season. and we'll move on to somebody else. So I mean, it's a risk versus reward thing, and it's much heavier on the risk side with Green Bay than it is with the Bears. Even if Clinton Dix doesn't work out, we're only stuck with him for one season, then we can move on to somebody else. The Packers have guaranteed money invested in Adrian Amos, so if he sucks this year, they're stuck with him for at least another year or two before they can move on from him. So it's the Bears won this swap, if you will, on all sides, in my opinion.
I agree too, because this Clinton Dix didn't really have the greatest season in 2018.
Right.
But what this allows him to do, to have a one-year deal, is allows him to rebuild his value on the free agent market, and he can perform his butt off this year, and he could potentially re-sign with the Chicago Bears for a longer deal, or he can move on to the next team, or the Bears can pick up somebody else. So I think, like you said, the Bears did win on this trade. They have an opportunity to either have somebody who's really hungry to sign on with the best team in the NFC North with a ton of talent, or they can let him go and get somebody else who fits the system better.
Yeah, because it's usually amazing how much a guy plays, or how well a guy plays, when he doesn't know where his next paycheck is coming from.
Exactly.
So, you have that. You have the 1 year prove it deal. You have this culture that he really wanted to be a part of. He has openly said, I took less money from the Bears to play in Chicago because I wanted to be a part of this. He's in the same backfield with his college teammate, Eddie Jackson. They were at Alabama together. So you have all of that, mix it up in a pot, and I think we're going to get a pretty good stew out of this. So I think we're going to be just fine with Clinton Dix, even though Packer fans are absolutely falling over themselves to show us, oh, this is where Clinton Dix screwed up here. He took a bad angle there, bad coverage here, missed the tackle there, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that was in Green Bay. He's not in Green Bay anymore. He's a Bear now, playing with much better talent around him. You guys act like you had the number one defense in the NFL in spite of Clinton Dix or anything like that. You didn't. So everyone in Green Bay needs to calm down. He wasn't the only one hurting your defense. So we're going to be fine. I think Clinton Dix is going to be fine, and we're going to prove that on September the 5th.
Facts, and I'm going to tell all the Packers fans right now that they're going to be pulling a muscle with all that reaching that they're doing, trying to prove that Clinton Dix is a bad trade. So they need to fall back and just let us handle it. September 5th, we're going to let them know what time it is.
Yeah, when I remember once it was actually when in 2013 when the Bears beat Green Bay on Monday night, that game where they hurt Aaron Rodgers and broke his collarbone. I remember tweeting out that all of the excuses being thrown around by my Packer coworkers are making for an unsafe work environment, because they just had one excuse after another about where that thing went wrong, why the Bears shouldn't have won that game. If Rodgers had played the whole game, we'd be fine. And blah. I was like, dude, Jay Cutler didn't play in that game. We played with our backup quarterback too, and we kicked your ass. So what now? Like, come on, you guys had the advantage going in, and we took your boy out, and then we won the game. So it's like that's how it happens. So, like, whatever, but it was like one excuse after, no credit whatsoever, just being tossed around. It's terrible.
Oh, they love their excuses, let me tell you. I can own up to our mistakes.
Do you run into many Packer fans down there?
Yeah, I actually do. One of my best friends, she's a Packers fan, but she's not my best friend during the season. We actually made it a point to not communicate with each other because, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm not even joking. We will not communicate to each other during the games because it will just honestly ruin the actual friendship. Yeah, sure. So there's, and I've always said I would never date a Packers fan. I would never date a Packers fan. Like, Packers fans have tried to date me. Well, first of all, Packers fans have tried to date me. I've shut them down time and time again. And could you imagine falling in love with somebody and then they come try to move into your house with Packers gear? Are you serious?
No way, dude.
Heck no.
No way.
No, never. So I already shut it down from the beginning. If you're a diehard Packers fan, there's absolutely no way. If you are attracted to me, there's no way we could ever date. I would fall on the floor if somebody tried to walk in the door with a green and yellow banner
Yeah.
that just wouldn't fly with me. So as far as like running into Packers fans here, yeah, they're here. They're around, living in La La Land and living in grand delusion.
Right.
You know, they used to come out the woodwork over here whenever our season was terrible and we were doing bad. They love to rub it in our face. But now that, you know, we're doing great, I don't know what happened to them. I think we need to do a missing persons report.
There you go.
Because something happened to them and they're gone. Like, I don't know what happened to them. So I got to find out where they're at.
Well, you know, that was the thing now. when in 2010, when they beat us and went to the Super Bowl that year, I used to work in a call center for AT&T at the time, and all of a sudden, we had a lot more Packer fans in the center than we had before the Super Bowl. And you know, the reason that I personally would never date a Packers fan is because Packer fans suck. They suck because like you said, they love to rub it in. They you know, they're terrible winners, and they're obviously, as I mentioned before, they're horrible losers as well. But you know, they don't. It's like, dude, you actually have a better team. You were supposed to win. So what are you bragging about? What are you bragging about? And even if the Bears had won, I expected them to win. So that's what I thought was going to happen. I'm not going to rub it in your face because we won. We were supposed to win, so we did. And it just, you know, like, they have no decorum when it comes to that kind of thing, and it makes me crazy. And that's why I hate Packer fans above all else.
Yeah, they have excuses, a whole list of excuses. And I have been through, I know you have probably too.
Yeah.
We've been through the ringer. We've been through the bad years. We went through the Trestman years. We went through the John Fox years. Year after year after year, I have been shouting my team from the rooftop how much I love them, even though everybody clowns me and roasts me all these years. But now that it's our time, I have every right to rub it in your face just like y'all rubbed it in our face. So that's what I'm doing, and I can't find everybody now.
Right.
I let everybody rub it in my face, and now everybody's gone, and I can't find them. So I'm just wondering where everybody's at. I'm going to do a missing persons report. Packers fans, wherever you guys are at, I'm going to put an Amber Alert out for y'all. I don't know where you guys are.
Nice.
I know that you guys make excuses for last year, even though y'all were projected to be first in the division, but you ended up going 6-9-1, and the Vikings were better than you guys. I don't know why you guys are being delusional and thinking that you're going to be beating us this year, but this is not going to happen.
I am fully on board with that statement. My name is
Vikings fans are realistic.
Yes.
At the minimum.
Yeah.
They're realistic, and they have arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Aaron Rodgers, and you guys can only go 6-9-1, even though there was injuries, and they make excuses about that. That's the best you could do with him. Get out of here. I ain't got time for that.
And they think that just because he's healthy, even though he's been hurt 2 years in a row and he's getting older every year, they think that this new coach, or the fact that it's not Mike McCarthy, is the magic wand that's going to repair a couple of things. And what's worse about it is that the other people, quote unquote experts, are convinced of that as well. That's why they have the Bears finishing below the Packers in their projections and things like that, just because Aaron Rodgers is healthy. The Mike McCarthy thing is over, so that won't be a distraction anymore. So the Packers are full steam ahead, and they're ready to roll. I just don't see it. I really don't. And it's not my Chicago Bear bias or anything like that. This is my completely objective looking at the team. I don't see what everybody else sees when it comes to Green Bay. I just don't see them being that team this year. I just don't. So I don't understand where it is that it's coming from, and that it's more of a consensus than anything that it's going to happen that Green Bay is going to finish ahead of Chicago this year. I just don't see it.
Or even ahead of the Vikings. And that's the thing that I tried to – I mean, we got a crawl before we walk, guys. Do you think you could beat the Vikings first? Okay, next.
Right. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. Damn those Packer fans. And
but
you know what?
We deserve it. I know everybody might be listening right now thinking that we're just acting crazy, but we deserve this moment. We've been working really hard for this. We deserve this.
Yes. You know what the problem with Packer fans is? They're spoiled. That's what the problem is. Packer fans are spoiled, so they act like spoiled little children when things don't go their way because they're used to getting their way. They had, 15 years or whatever with Favre before he moved on, and now it's been, another 10, 12 years with Rodgers. So we're talking about a quarter century, if not more, having one of the best, if not the best quarterback leading their football team, and the team has been prospering because of it. And now their quarterback is getting old. They don't have an heir apparent coming up behind him or anything like that. The other teams in the division are getting better and catching up and or passing them in the division. And they don't know how to handle it because for the last 20 plus years, everything has gone Green Bay's way. So they are reacting like a petulant little bratty child who isn't getting its way right now and lashing out at everyone else because they're not getting what they want.
Exactly, and they don't see that their organization's on the decline. But whatever. And we as Bears fans, we've been the ramen noodle soup of the NFC North for quite some time. We've eaten our chicken ramen for a long time. We now have our filet mignon, baked potato, and asparagus in front of us. So excuse us for being extremely happy.
Yeah. So I mean, my favorite moment of all of last season was when we showed our dominance and we showed that Khalil Mack was so dominant that he could sack Aaron Rodgers with his booty. So, I mean, that's how awesome Khalil Mack is. He could run into you backwards and sack you with his butt cheeks. That's how awesome Khalil Mack is, and that's what's coming. That's what's coming for Aaron Rodgers on September 5th. Is booty sack part number 2. That's what's coming Aaron Rodgers' way on Thursday, September 5th. I can't wait to see it.
Me either.
Carolina, thanks so much for coming on the show. Tell us where we can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at Carolina Teague _ I cater to my Bears fans. I also cater to the local fans over here, so definitely talk about the Bulls from time to time, which is my team. But I'm mostly talking about the Spurs, Cowboys, Bears. Actually, I talk about anything popping in sports. So if you like a good sports following, you like women, then you can definitely follow me. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Carolina Teague _ and sportsastoldbyagirl.com. You can check out my articles and keep up with me whenever you want to.
Carolina Teague, thanks so much for coming on. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, Larry.
Remember, guys, promo code ACAA for $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek, and the promo code BEARS100 for a 50% deposit bonus at MyBookie. That was fun. I had a good time talking to her. Like I said, door is always open for her to come back, so we'll probably see her at some point again during the season and get her thoughts and things on how the year is going. And, it's everybody's excited about this team, guys. Everybody. And now that the team has taken the field and they are practicing and getting ready and working their way towards week 1 with the Green Bay Packers, I mean, the next episode that drops will be inside of a month from Thursday Night Football against Green Bay. When the next episode drops on August the 6th, we'll be less than 30 days away from Bears Packers on Thursday Night Football to kick off the 100th season of Bears football and the 100th season of the NFL. It just doesn't get much better than that. And before we have to wait for that game on Thursday, on August the 6th, when the next one drops, we're only 2 days away from the preseason opener against the Carolina Panthers. And like I said, that might not be very much fun as far as the people on the field, but this is a year I'm actually pretty interested in the preseason because we know who the starters are going to be. And a year removed from Nagy's first preseason where the starters barely saw the field last year, and considering this is year 2 on the offensive side, we might see the starters even less. I mean, I would dare to say we'd probably barely even see them dress in these football games this preseason. But we know who our starters are because we brought just about everybody back this year. We brought everybody on the offensive line back. We brought all of our receivers back and even added a couple to them. with a new running backfield, we'll probably see a healthy dose of David Montgomery, getting him up to speed. But for the most part, I expect a lot of Tyler Bray, a lot of Chase Daniel, and a lot of second-teamers to be playing this year. And that's what's going to be interesting, because they're going to fill in the blanks for the back half of this 53-man roster and answer these really interesting questions that we have about how this roster is going to be constructed. Because we have, strangely enough, one of the deepest wide receiver rooms in football right now. Who are we going to keep? Allen Robinson, he's a lock. Anthony Miller, lock. Taylor Gabriel, lock. Javon Wims so far has been a beast in OTAs, mini camps, and so far in training camp as well. Riley Riley's a draft pick, and he was performing his ass off in OTAs, or so I hear from the beat writers and such. We also have Emmanuel Hall, an undrafted rookie free agent that we signed from Missouri, who's got a big ceiling. We signed Marvin Hall, kick returner / speedy wide receiver from the Atlanta Falcons, and there are probably even a few guys in there that I'm forgetting. Oh, well, like Tanner Gentry, who's a preseason Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? This is the guy that tears it up. This is his time of year, and right now he's probably like 7 or 8 on the depth chart. It's like, how many of these guys are we going to keep? How many tight ends are we going to keep? Is the Adam Shaheen situation going to influence that at all? On the defensive side, how many pass rushers are we going to keep? We've been hearing good things about Matu Betts. Obviously we have Khalil Mack, Aaron Lynch, Leonard Floyd, and such. Does Isaiah Irving come back? Does Kylie Fitz make it back on the team? So on and so forth. Who are our inside linebackers going to be? Are the 4 guys that we had last year, are we set there? Trevathan and Roquan starting, Iggy and Nick Kwiatkowski behind them. Is that the tandem that we're going with there? Do we even keep a fullback this year? Maybe that's where we're going to earn that extra roster spot this year. Michael Burton is with the Saints now. When I don't think we have a true blue fullback. Maybe that's what Bradley Soul is going to be. He's going to be that lead blocker / tight end guy. That's why he's wearing 85 this year instead of 79. He's going to be more of a fullback instead of a tight end for us this year, an H-back, if you will. So I'm really interested to see, and I think the preseason is where we're going to answer a lot of those questions, where we get to see those guys out on the field. Well, Ryan Nall, who was a hell of a player for the Bears in the preseason last year, the running back out of Oregon or Oregon State, one of the two, had a really good preseason last year, was on the practice squad all of last season. Will he be able to earn a spot in the room, and who is that going to cost? I mean, is it going to be a very, very interesting cut-down day after the Bears play the Titans to close out the preseason? Labor Day weekend is going to be very, very interesting to see, because then maybe there's somebody that the other teams cut, the Bears claim, and then they got to get rid of somebody else that they wanted to keep at the beginning. So very, very interested to see how this all unfolds. I will be watching the preseason, hopefully a bit more intently than I did last year. I was just getting bored with the fact that I didn't know who most of these guys were. I'm going to pay attention this year, because it's going to be important to know who the back half of our roster is going to be, who of the 90 is going to fill in like those last 7 or 8 spots, because it's a 53-man roster. And I would say that we're set at about 40 or 40, somewhere in the 40s, I would think, 42, 43, somewhere in there. So we're looking to fill 10 spots with about 50 guys, and wanting to see who those spots are going to be earned by and things like that. I'm very, very interested to see how that all goes. So anyway, that is going to do it for off-season episode number 12 with Miss Carolina Teague. I had a lovely time with her. Hope to have her back soon. Come back next Tuesday, August the 6th. Brett Coleman from the Film Room on YouTube will be breaking down some of those videos that he made, the process that he goes through to make them, what he thinks of our beloved Chicago Bears, and we even kind of dip into the Texans just a little bit. We had a lot of fun talking. I really, really enjoyed that conversation with Brett. So come back on Tuesday to talk for the Film Room with Brett Coleman. And until then, my name is Larry D, and this has been Bears Talk Underground.